What's going on, everyone? So many of you may or may not know that Jarred Vanderbilt has grown. That is a big conversation. That was a big talking point. And I know I've talked about this recently, and some of you may have already seen that video and heard about it. But this is important information that I want to talk about and want to get out to as many people as possible because I think that it is something that is very noteworthy. Very noteworthy. So Jarred Vanderbilt, based on what Phil Handy said, is he grew about 2 inches. Right? That's what Phil Handy said, that he's around 6'9", 6'10 now. And the question was, okay, if that's true, and he really is 6'10", the NBA is in trouble. Because he already was an absolute menace and a handful for any offensive player he was staring down and ready to lock up. I mean, the numbers and everything back it up. This guy is legit a top 5, maybe even a top 3 on-ball individual perimeter defender. This dude is ridiculous on the defensive end. The one liability has been his offense, but he has been working very hard offensively to try to just develop an offensive game, right? Kind of things that I hope to see is obviously that three-point shot. Doesn't need to be elite, doesn't need to be 40% or anything like that. Just get to like 35%. Just get around league average. Because if you can just be around league average, then that would be huge. That'd be massive. Now teams have to actually defend you rather than when he was shooting 30%, they basically just sagged off of him. The other thing would be his just hands, right? Working on his coordination, working on catching the ball, because what happened a lot was teams would sag off of him, they would lose track of him, and he would just use his speed and length and quickness to make a cut to the basket, get a nice cut, and either fumble the ball or not really gather, and would either get blocked by the rim or botch the layup or whatever. That's not good. He needs to work on his hands. And then just getting comfortable handling the ball. That's something else I really want to see from him. Because it would be nice if he could kind of go coast to coast. We've seen him do it on occasion, but he doesn't look very comfortable, right? So if he could just grab the rebound, get from 1A to 1B, that would be perfect. And then also just allow you to dump the ball to him at like the top of the key or something and use his 6'10 length and size and just get to the basket. That would be perfect. And so for those that are wondering, 6'10, is he really? Because I have seen a lot of people very skeptical, which is understandable, right? It is something that is not very common. It is something that is a little like really like 2 inches, but it's not something that is like impossible or that ridiculously uncommon that it's just unheard of. Like, no, guys grow, especially athletes that are doing all kinds of stretches and workouts and this, that, and the other. Like, of course, guys get bigger. Guys get taller. It happens. It's not super common, but it happens. Well, here's the proof. So you have Jarred Vanderbilt standing side by side with Rui Hachimura. Rui Hachimura is 6'8", right? So you have 6'8" Rui, and then you have Jarred Vanderbilt standing right next to him with his head tilted back, and he is still clearly taller than Rui Hachimura. Jarred Vanderbilt has to be at least 6'9", 6'10". If not, he might be bigger, which is crazy to think about. But he is clearly 2 inches taller than Rui Hachimura, even with his head tilted back. Because if you just envision his head straight forward, then, even with Rui's hair, he's taller than him by like 2 inches. And Rui is listed as 6'8". So if Rui is 6'8", Jarred Vanderbilt is legit 6'10", which again is very terrifying. If you're any type of player that is significant on an NBA roster, you have to be looking at Jarred Vanderbilt like, come on, man. And if you don't think that that's not something, oh, believe me, it is. We've all seen the famous LeBron, F it video when Kawhi Leonard gets checked into the game. Having a guy that is just a defensive monster is very difficult. You're never going to stop the elite guys. You're never going to shut them down. But to make things very difficult, especially when that's like your only thing that you have to really do. So Jarred Vanderbilt gets to basically just exert all of his energy on the defensive end where a star has to do so many things. They have to defend, they have to rebound, they have to offense, they have to star, they have to do so much. Where Jarred Vanderbilt, the only thing he has to do is just shut down or try to shut down the guy in front of him. And we've seen it. I mean, from Anthony Edwards being basically completely out of games on 3 separate occasions with Jarred Vanderbilt guarding him, to Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Ja Morant, Steph Curry, you name it. He has been in front of and just completely took them out of their game and out of their element. And now he's 6'10", with like a 7 foot, 7'1" wingspan. Like, good luck. Good luck. I mean, it's crazy to see this. And again, I understand the skepticism. I understand the concerns. And like in this image, they look a little closer in height, right? You can look at this like, oh, okay, well, here they look about the same height, right? We're in that ballpark. But even in this image, you got to keep in mind, Jarred Vanderbilt is in front of Rui. Just slightly, but that's how you get that distortion. Because again, you see him side by side, he's clearly taller. So you add that little gap in between, and it's a little farther of a picture, there's the distortion. But they still look the same height, where Vanderbilt should be looking shorter. If he was the same height, he would be shorter, right? And he doesn't here. Another thing is, Vandal looks like he put on some muscle too, which is really good. I mean, Rui, don't get me wrong, Rui looks great as well, but he's always been kind of stockier, muscular type guy. Where Vando, I mean, he looks like he's put on some muscle. And that's something that I've talked about before. I was like, hey, even if he didn't grow in height, I was like, it looks like he's gained some muscle. It looks like he's probably going to be a lot stronger. So you add just strength and muscle to the extra added length to a guy that was already top 5 defensively. I mean, you could be looking at the defensive player of the year. And that's not something that's that insanely far-fetched. Like, if you look up his defensive stats, especially against, like, the league's top players, there was a very big argument for it last year. So this year, I mean, and if he is 6'10", that gives you the ability to put him on, like, even, like, some of the centers in this league. Now, you don't want to put him on Jokic or Embiid or something like that, obviously. Now, if for whatever reason he ends up getting switched on him, having that 6'10" length will help. But he doesn't have the weight, right, to match up with those guys. But he can still make things difficult. But the centers that I'm talking about are like the Bam Adebayos, right? The Triple J's. Guys like that he could easily just switch on and stick with them, defend them, and he has the length and the height and the size to match up better, right? Like that's something else that can go a long way for Jarred Vanderbilt and just his defensive game. I just really want to see this guy have some type of offensive game. And look, again, he's been working like a madman with Phil Handy. As soon as the Lakers picked up his option, the next day got pictures of him working on that corner 3. Right? And that is going to be huge for him. But beyond just the corner 3, I really hope he's working on his ball handling, and I really hope he's working on his just hands, period. Right? Because we need him. Because even if he gets to, like, say 35, 36%, teams will still in the playoffs probably sag off of him. Because you're going to have to worry and double team Anthony Davis in the post. Still got to worry about LeBron James. You have D'Angelo Russell, who's 40% from 3, and you have Austin Reeves, who's 40% from 3. So if you had to choose somebody to sag off of, who are you sagging off of? You're sagging off of Jarred Vanderbilt, right? That's what you're doing. So he's going to get some of those backdoor cuts, and especially at 6'10", I mean, he would be a major lob threat now. So that's something else. You can even run sets to where you're just getting him backdoor cuts for lobs, right? Or put him in position on offense where he's in the dunker spot and let him just go up and get it. especially if he's worked on his hands. So that is something that I really hope he's working on. Eventually, I'd like to see him kind of get a just passing game, right? Because how nice would it be if he could if he could kind of be not necessarily a point forward, but some version of that. I'm not saying you have to like run your offense through him like a Pascal Siakam, but if he could just like I said, get the rebound, go coast to coast and make a play for somebody, right? Like that would be nice. Or like where you could just dump it to him at the top of the key and then he could kind of be in the triple threat and make a decision on like, okay, do I just shoot it here? Do I pass it? Or do I just beat the guy off the dribble and use my 6'10 size and my wingspan and length to just get to the basket? Because he also is very quick, right? So that is I am so pumped for Jarred Vanderbilt. I really am. I cannot wait. He might be the guy I'm most excited to see this upcoming season, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to see if Austin Reeves can continue his performance from the last half of last season as well as the playoffs. Rui Hachimura, I'm excited to see what his growth looks like, how much better he is. Some of the new guys, like what's Taurean Prince's impact, Jackson Hayes. Like, I'm excited to see basically everybody on the roster. Don't get me wrong. But if Jarred Vanderbilt is 6'10", and if he has a 3-point shot, man, I can't wait to see him. I am pumped to see this guy. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think of Jarred Vanderbilt being potentially 6'10"? I mean, again, it looks like it. It does. It looks like he's 6'10". And so if he really is, man, that is just huge for the Lakers. Huge for the Lakers. And it's also huge for him, especially if he develops a shot. Because he's due for a payday, right? This is his contract year. So he's going to need to have a good year. And him being 6'10" and him having a reliable 3-point shot is the difference between him making 4 years, $40 million and him making 4 years, $56 to $60 million, right? Maybe even more. Maybe he could easily get a Rui deal type deal, right? Where he's getting 4 years, $68 million, something like that, where he's getting $17 million a year. And some people might think that that's a lot, but if he develops a 3-point shot and he really is 6'10", the type of demand that his type of player is, a team will overpay for him if they have to. At 24 years old, a team will offer him. If the Lakers are giving him most $15 million, a team will give him $17, $18 million. So Lakers might end up having to overpay for Jarred Vanderbilt. So if you have to pay for overpay for Jarred Vanderbilt, it'd be nice if he had a 3-point shot and was 6'10". So anyway, again, love your thoughts and opinions. Let me know how you feel down in the comments.